essentially, with the release of the Game Gear Micro in Japan, which was on October the 6th, 2020, we're going to be looking at the Game Gear Micro and also discussing a little bit about the world of, I guess, micro consoles. So just to be clear, the Sega has released the Game Gear Micro in aid of their 60th anniversary. So Sega has been around for 60 whopping years, but also it is the 30th anniversary of the Game Gear. So that's pretty incredible to think. I remember when the Game Gear came out, and my God, that's crazy. So yeah, both Scotty and I have the Game Gear Micros. We pre-ordered them several episodes ago, actually, on the show. We were live on the show. I pre-ordered mine from Amazon Japan, and effectively that's one of the main ways you can really get it. And so we'll have a quick discussion about what we think of them, talk a bit about them, show them off a little bit to the camera. So I've got my ones in front of me. And yeah, Nick, I know you don't have one, but maybe you can ask some questions or chip in, and we'll have a look at this, and then we'll get discussing more about the micro console world in general. So Scotty, I'm going to let you start on this. You've got the Game Gear Micros. You got them the other day. They all came through. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts and feelings on this?
So, as soon as I opened them up, I prefaced that I forgot that I bought these a while ago, and then I realized it when I got an alert from Amazon Japan, and then I was like, shit, I need to tell the love of my life that I just spent $200 inspired by Chris Powell's Pure Pressure and alcohol, and I stupidly told her, I was like, hey, I just want to let you know this package is coming. Also, because I wasn't sure if it needed to be signed for, so I wanted to give her a heads up. And I'm like, I got those Game Gear Micros. It was $200 for the 4 of them. But you're going to say, oh, and here she comes delivering something else I needed. Thank you, darling.
Wow.
Okay.
Hey, Rach.
They say hi. That's not for something else, or another part of this. So I opened them up. And I told her, I was like, you're going to think these are dumb, but then you're going to look at them and be like, oh, how cute. Maybe it wasn't that dumb of a purchase. Opened up the boxes, got one out of the box, like unboxed it, and I was like, I immediately regret this purchase. Because I'll show you why. I forgot to get a Happy Meal toy. So, I don't remember. Rachel actually grabbed this. So for those listening, I have one of the dumb Sonic electronic handheld things that McDonald's handed out at one point. I don't think you had this in the UK, did you, Graham? Like these, there was like this one, someone playing soccer. It's Shadow playing hockey against.
No, we had something else a little while ago, because I've actually got one. I can't find it though. I was going to do it in my video for the Game Gear Micro, but it's like a little tiny Tails. That little Tails one, basically. Yeah. That I had. But,
so I'm putting up next to this. The plastic of this Happy Meal toy feels more durable than the fucking Game Gear Micro.
Wow, okay.
And it's like thicker plastic. Probably because there's also less electronics in this to worry about the shell invading the space of the board in the Game Gear Micro. And I think, like, it just feels light. And when I was putting together the micro camera, the big window thing, I honestly thought I was going to break it. Yeah. I was very scared because it's a couple of latches that go on the top. It's 3 parts. And I don't even want to try to take it apart because I'm afraid I'm going to break the hinges. And then that slaps onto there and all that fun stuff. And you can check out Graham's unboxing. I did a parody unboxing. We can mention that later. But when I opened this up, I was just like, fuck me. This was not worth $200, which comes out to $50 per handheld. And the real kicker is, like, it doesn't require, but it can take AAA batteries, or you can plug in a micro USB into the top. I can't get the case back on. So small, and the screen is so small, and it's the size of a VMU, and that also made me think, like, I like the rubbery buttons on the VMU. I'm holding up the visual memory unit for the Dreamcast. I prefer them over the plastic. Yeah. And the last thing I'll say real quick, I thought I'd give it a decent shot, and I was sitting down, I was laying in bed last night playing some of these, prep for the episode, honestly, and I'm like trying to hold this thing while I'm laying down, and just look at my hands look like a facehugger from Aliens right now with the way I have to hold this thing. But if you hold up a VMU, this is more comfortable because you have your fingers somewhere to go. And I equated that to, like, the Dreamcast controller almost, because the Dreamcast are almost pinching when you hold it. This one, I had to like find a way to hold this and properly frame it with my fingers, and I couldn't really comfortably do that. And I had earbuds in it because Rachel's trying to read a book while I'm playing this, and I had the big window on it. And I just look over at her. I'm like, honey, how stupid do I look right now? Because I'm laying in bed like this with like earbuds. This thing probably 3 inches from my face. And I probably look like I've got to call the president or something the way I'm like intently trying to play this thing. And apparently, I do not remember this. I fell asleep while I was playing it. And like when I fall asleep, I kind of scare myself awake sometimes. And I just get intense, I guess. Because Rachel, you know how when you jump in bed when you're asleep and you wake yourself. Apparently, this is exactly what happened. Like I'm like falling asleep, and Rachel looks over, and I just go like this, and I like start to press the button. And I looked over her. I do not remember saying this, and she didn't say anything to me, but I just looked over. I'm like, sorry, I was dozing.
Oh my god!
Awesome.
Wow,
that's my review of the micros. I don't know.
That's so good. Yeah, so I actually did an unboxing and review, not a parody review, but an actual review on Megavision's YouTube channel, so you guys can check it out. The audience can check that out. But I'll just do a quick rundown. I mean, this is a weird thing. I can't really recommend the people to buy these because, as you say, Scotty, the price of them is ridiculous. So in the UK, I think it's about, for all four of them, if you pre-ordered it and got the big window thing, which I'll slide my one on, there you go, is about 150 odd pounds. So in America, it's about $200. And yeah, the fact that you only get 4 games on each of these, and they are different games on each of them, but you only get 4 on each of them, it kind of just is like, wow, okay, if 16 games in total, like $200, that's just not good economics, really. And I feel like the actual build quality is not as bad as what you're saying. I think actually, I was playing on mine for quite a while, actually. I played for quite a few hours, like testing out the games and stuff, and I found them perfectly fine to play. I think they are rather on the, I'm not going to lie, they are obviously rather on the small side. So yeah, just as Scotty did it earlier, but a comparison between the actual original Game Gear and these things, you can put the entire Game Gear, the Game Gear Micro, over the screen of the original Game Gear, and yeah, it fits right in the screen basically. And the original Game Gear screen is obviously taller as well. So it's just insane how tiny it is. So yeah, it's not
smaller than the VMU screen.
Yeah,
I just realized.
Yeah, so that the screen on the Game Gear on the Game Gear Micro is smaller than the VMU screen, and like side by side, the VMU is a tiny bit bigger. So it's insane. I found I didn't have a huge problem playing with it though. I don't know if I position my fingers. I just do that basically. I just have my index fingers behind, and that for some reason that's fine. That's comfortable for me. So when I was playing them, I actually found them very playable, very functional. I think the D-pad works really well. The button presses worked really well. So I was playing them fine, and yeah, so yeah, I was being able to play like Sonic and everything perfectly, pretty much. But the screens are very, very tiny, and I'm just going to say it. This big window thing does jack all, basically. Yes, it magnifies it, but like by a tiny, tiny amount. So it's like,
and also it has the weird pattern on it that you can't as clearly see as just looking at the screen.
Annoyingly, my camera is not focusing on my screen properly because I'm holding it up, so you just see a bright light at the moment. But yeah,
right.
But yeah, when I take, so it enlarged it a tiny bit, but when I take it off, I'm like, oh, it's enlarged it like a micro fraction. But
I'm trying to see if I can. Yeah, I can't really get it zoomed in close enough for you to see the.
Yeah, I found it. I found it most helpful when I was playing the Shining Force games, because on the Shining Force games, when you're fighting in like the battle mode, you've got like 4 little squares that sort of show, let's say, like defense or hold and stuff. So the writing on that's quite small, and when you put that on, you can just see that a little bit clearer. But otherwise, it's pretty pointless. And the downside is because these are from Japan and they're Japanese only. All the games are in Japanese. There's very few games which actually have any English writing in them. So the RPGs in particular, I have no idea what's happening really. Like, I mean, Shining Force is easy to do because it's just battle. You're just fighting battles. You know what to do. There's no really exploring in the Game Gear version of the Shining Force. Other games are easy to play because there's lots of games you don't really need to read stuff. But yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare for that. So I think they're cool. but they're not worth the money. Wow, it's but Scott. Oh, what were you going to say next? Sorry.
Oh, I just had some questions. Go ahead with Scotty, though.
I was just going to say, Scotty did a really good parody unboxing, so check that out because I thought that was brilliant. Yeah. It's just, so much fun.
The only one, since you're part of my unboxing, is I probably will lose these things if they stay outside of their box.
Yeah.
Like it's so easy to misplace these. I wanted to say real quick on your comment of the big window micro thing, or whatever it's called. They probably included it with the bundle because they honestly felt bad if they were to charge people money for that thing on its own.
Yeah, because actually that's the thing with the big window. I've just lost mine. Oh, there we go. So yeah, I tried to do an unboxing for video part of my unboxing video review thing. I tried to do an unboxing of the big window, but it's so fiddly for me to try and do it. I was like, this is not good entertainment for the unboxing. So I sort of pulled out the box, obviously, and showed the initial parts. And I was like, okay, I'll try and put it together. And it's just so awkward. And I was like, right, okay, I'll just try and get it in, and then if I work out how to do it quickly, then maybe I can sort of resume my unboxing by like putting it back together again or whatever. But I finally put it together, and now, as you said, I'm now afraid to take it apart because it feels like it will break. Like once it's in place, it's kind of fine, but it is so flimsy that I'm like, I don't think I can unclip it without damaging it. So yeah, now that's just stuck unboxed forever now because it won't fit back. It will not fit back in this box because it comes in like 3 separate parts basically.
Holy shit!
But it's quite good. They've designed it that it slides across the Game Gear because initially I was trying to like clip it on like in a weird cranky way, but yeah, and it's good. It's very thoughtful of them that they've included a little round hole for the headphone socket as well. So just for the audience, I'm showing up to the camera. You can see there's like a little tiny hole that you can put the headset through, and yeah, but I think the biggest regrets of these is there's no upgrades to the quality of the games in any way, shape, or form. So visually and audibly, they're not any better of the original Game Gear. Yeah, there's no extra features to any of these games. So you're getting the original bare bones versions, and for the price you've paid for them, yipes! Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I thought also I could maybe use my phone with Google Translate on it to hold it up to the screen for some of the RPGs. I sent you guys a screenshot though, because I'm genuinely slightly bummed because one of these games on, I think it's the yellow one. I could just look at the screenshot I shared with you guys. Is the Puyo Puyo JRPG, which I was legit curious to play, and I thought based on the picture it was like a cooking game because it has some girl like meat on a fryer or something. So we loaded up. Rachel actually started playing it. I'm like, here, let me help you with this conversation, honey. And I sent you guys the screenshot, and it just the only thing that showed up translated was the phrase "this meat."
Yeah,
and
yeah, I don't know what it is, if it's the actual characters they're using or something, but Google Translate and the other translator app I've got do not translate on these games at all. Really, they're like the odd word here and there. And Scotty's trying to hold up the box art, but
it's trying to put up the back because it's this girl like holding a ladle with a chef's hat on, and she's just next to a delicious looking plate of meat. And I'm like, oh, maybe that's some weird cooking sim that I could finagle my way through. No, it's one of the Puyo Puyo, which is a puzzle game RPG based around it.
Yeah. Is my camera any? I don't think my camera's gonna be any better.
That's a little better, but yeah, you can see like the plate of meat there. Something that might be worth mentioning. I think part of the reason behind the different colors, because there's the yellow with the green buttons, there's the red, there's the light blue, and then there's the black. In Japan, the Game Gear got released in a multitude of colors. Over in America, all we got was the black and then the Sonic Blue, quote unquote. The red one that I have is recapped from a retro shop and whatever, but yeah, they had different colors over in Japan. We only ever had, I think we maybe got a yellow one as well. But I think they use that as an excuse to like, let's bundle these games with this. Yeah. But
I think in the UK we only got the original black one. I don't know if I remember seeing like an official release in the UK of any other color, but I could be wrong on that. But yeah, sorry, Nick, did you say you had some questions?
Yeah, I had a couple. Before I forget it, though, I have to tell you that, Scotty, if I saw a person with the earbuds and the little micro screen on the subway or something, like, never been a bully in my life, but something about seeing that in real life would probably trigger some bully instincts. Like, this needs to be given a noogie.
Yeah. What if I had like these on, like like an Astro headset or something, and I'm just like
wedgie time.
Graham, if you need a thumbnail for this week or something, I'll just repost this.
Yeah, no, that's all of that. Just sounds horrific. Like I can't. The thing that came to mind when I was watching both of your reviews was that maybe it's like a novelty thing, and I mentioned it earlier. Maybe it's like you just want to do it for like having it on hand, having like a little keychain, what have you. But if the plastic is thin, obviously to make it small so that they can keep the cost of it down, then it makes me feel like, man, would they like wouldn't this get all scratched up and torn up, if you kept it on your keys, and that'd be concerning. I'm curious about how long the lithium ion battery for that lasts, especially if it also has the AAA batteries. Like, what's the weight on that going to be like? And then I saw I forget, I want to say it was in Graham's unboxing, where you did the little screen, and there's a big thumbprint, like fingerprint on the screen, and it was it's not like it was a bad thing, but it made me think like, cleaning and maintaining this thing might be.
Just to be clear, that's not a thumbprint. That's the screen. It's actually got this weird swirly thing in the screen.
Okay.
That's
the micro.
Because I think the original magnifier for the original Game Gear, the way the glass was designed or the plastic was designed to make it magnify, it at the time it just had to have that weird. It's hard to. I can't really show it on the camera, but it's gonna go.
Never mind the fact I literally just tried to wipe something off in the micro, like on the other side, and I'm like, I have to like get in a good half to almost a full inch into the thing to somehow wipe this off.
Yeah, I mean, so trying to think about the product from a Japanese perspective, there's definitely the novelty. It's in Japanese text, so it's like not that big a deal. But like from an American or British or US global perspective on this thing, it is a collector's thing. Like, this is because I want to have it and I want to have it on my shelf. I can't possibly imagine that this seems practical for everyday use. How long do you know is the lithium ion battery last?
So I might be wrong on this, but it doesn't. I don't think it's got a lithium ion battery.
Why would it plug into the
So you just power it directly, like you would the original game. For example, the original Game Gear, you powered directly from the mains. If you could use the Mega Drive or Genesis plug, and it would just plug into the wall, so you could play that way. Because I did test it out, and it seemed to power it, but I don't think it charged it at all in any way. So the idea is you can use
that would make sense.
AAA's or that. I haven't got a micro USB cable next to it. I was going to test it out again, but I'm sure when I tested it out the other day, when I was doing the unboxing review, it powered it when I was doing it, but when I unplugged it, it just went off. Unless I got that wrong, I don't know. Did you do that?
No, I didn't try it out. I was trying to look up. Another gentleman did a unboxing of it where he actually took the thing apart to look at the insides.
Oh yeah.
I get to wait for every YouTube goddamn ad in the world, but I was going to look for if there was a lithium on the board at all.
Gotcha. But I find that really weird because then it makes the weight of it also an issue. Because at the very least, I don't know. Obviously, I don't have one physically. So I don't know how much it would weigh, but the weight of the two AAA batteries would also.
There's no lithium battery in this thing.
Okay,
gotcha. Cool. Strange.
So they are super light. When you've got the AAA batteries in, though, you do notice a big weight difference in them. But it's not like heavy or anything. But
gotcha.
They are crazy light. I think if without the batteries in, they're lighter than my keys, for example, basically. Like car keys. That's
what made me immediately regret the purchase was when I opened up one and it didn't have batteries in it. It is just so light. Like, it's lighter than a VMU, but a VMU has batteries in it. But these seem as practical as like those hip clip things that lasted in the late 90s.
Yeah.
That had like literally the chorus of a song, and you would buy these dumb cartridges that would play like just the chorus of "Oops, I Did It Again" or something.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So they're like they're basically like little CD players, and they'd come with these tiny little discs that you could plug into them, and it would play through a crappy speaker, and I think you could plug in headphones.
Yeah, you could. And there was also like a boombox version, and
and it would only play like 30 seconds of the actual song.
That's and then MP3 players came out. Jeez.
This was between Discman and MP3 players.
That's insane. But I think the thing is the annoying thing is the games on these are actually good, and personally I found them quite playable. So, but the fact they're so tiny means you don't want to be playing it for hours, if that makes sense. So, like,
that's the biggest shame. I sent you an image search for the hip clip things, Graham. That's the biggest shame. Is there's some really good games on these that people should have exposure to, but this isn't the way to play them.
Yeah, that's exactly like if is it on the blue Game Gear has a game called Sylvian Tale, which is an excellent Zelda style adventure game, like top down sort of Zelda style adventure game. And I love it. I think it's a great Game Gear game. And it's not one that's really that many people know about, I guess. And it's a shame that it's on this thing, basically, because if it was released like some other way, I don't know, on Steam or I don't know, even just some sort of digital downloadable version to these things would be amazing.
I'd say if you think I need these, I need at least one or two of these because I'm a collector and they're not going to come outside of Japan. Look at either the black or the light blue one, because the black one has Sonic, Puyo 2, Outrun, and then an RPG you're not going to be able to read. And then the light blue has Sonic 2, Gunstar Heroes, Baku Baku, which is a puzzle game, and then, like Graham said, Sylvian Tale. So, like, these offer the biggest variety.
Yeah.
Because the one that has the Shinobi game, unfortunately, I think it's just all of JRPGs as well.
Yeah, and that's another one, because Game Gear Shinobi is probably my favourite Shinobi game. I've said this on the show before. I love the Game Gear Shinobi. It's very different. It's just a really fun game.
Yeah. Columns is another good, like, I feel like that's a staple Game Gear game because I think it was bundled. That's on the red one with Shinobi on there, but hot damn, 4 games a console. I did hear a rumor or maybe something that if you hold a directional button, you can unlock a hidden game on one of them or something. I'm not really sure. There's unfortunately no information, like very, very little information. And also, because Rachel was asking, like, how do you find that stuff out? I'm like, the weird downfall is I can't search Japan's YouTube, where these were released. Like, I only have the US YouTube channels.
As you sort of say, they are more collector's items, but they are fun. Yeah,
they look on a shelf, I guess.
Yeah.
Wikipedia says that there is a white model.
Yes. Graham, did you want to mention that real quick at all? Or?
I actually know. I think I know less about it than you do. Sorry.
Okay. So there's a shoot 'em up, a shmup collection that came out recently, and they decided to also put 4 shmups on one of these Game Gear Micros, which is a white version. I think. What are do you see the names of the game there or the series there, Nick?
Yeah. So there's Power Strike, Power Strike 2, GG Alest, GG Alest 2, and also GG Alest 3, which is apparently a new game.
Okay.
Right.
Imagine your game launching on the Game Gear Micro.
Yeah. I will do that while I'm listening to my mini disc hip clip garbage.
Yeah. I just need to make one clarification on one of the things. You mentioned the blue one has Sonic 2 on it. It actually doesn't. It's called Sonic and Tails in Japan, but in the West it's called Sonic Chaos.
Oh, really?
So it's not Sonic 2. It's not Game Gear Sonic 2. It's a different one. So in Sonic Chaos or Sonic and Tails, you can play as Sonic or Tails, but in Sonic 2 on the Game Gear, you can only play as Sonic. And it's a very tough game, Sonic 2 on the Game Gear. In fact, Sonic Chaos was also really tough as well, but they are really good Sonic games.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. But okay, so let's move away slightly from the Game Gear Micro. We'll still talk about it a little bit, but if you want to, let's look at the other sort of micro or mini consoles that really come out recently. So these are, I know there's been some other various ones out there, but these are guys, the main ones that most people talk about. So you have the Nez Classic Edition, which was released in 2016 originally, and they did have a relaunch in 2018, briefly. So they were discontinued after a little while because Nintendo wanted them to be a sort of more of a collector's item, I guess. They released for nearly 6,000 yen, or 60 American dollars, or about £50, and they had 30 games in total. Then you had like the Super NES Classic Edition, so the SNES Classic Edition, or SNES Mini, some people call it. That was originally released in 2017. That was for around nearly 8,000 yen, about 80 American dollars, or I think it's about 70 to 80 pounds, effectively. That had 21 games in it, but it also had the unreleased Star Fox 2, so you're kind of getting a game that wasn't released before. So it's a really cool idea.
Until you played it. It's not a good game. Like you can see why I think the N64 was out or about to launch, and that was partially why they didn't release Star Fox 2 or something. I forget.
Yeah.
But it's a clunky mess in some areas, especially if they have the neck, like Chicken Walker thing.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't. Did they not finish it for the Super Nintendo release? Because I feel like it wasn't even a fully finished game. Was it? Okay, I thought it was not fully. Okay. Yeah, I've only played it briefly, and someone brought one into work, and I played it briefly, and I was like, okay, this is a thing. Yeah, that happened. And then in 2019, Sega, released the Mega Drive or Genesis Mini. And so that was around nearly 10,000 yen, about 80 American dollars, about 70 English pounds. And that had a whopping 42 games on it, including 2 unreleased games, which were released in the arcade originally. But they basically were planning to come to the Mega Drive or Genesis, but they didn't, which was Tetris and Darius. And so that happened. And then in 2018, so a year before the Sega released theirs, you had the PlayStation 1 Classic. So that came out in 2018. That was also for about nearly 10,000 yen, about $100, about £90. That had about 20 games in it. There was a bit of more controversy around that one because some of the emulation wasn't very good. Also, some of the games were the PAL versions, which were 50 hertz rather than 60 hertz. So in America, those games ran a little bit faster, which is a bit controversial because it's like, why wouldn't you use the better version? Basically, I don't know if you realize that, Scotty. Some of the games were running on the and now we've got the Game Boy Micro.
PS1,
yeah. And the PlayStation, arguably the PlayStation 1 Classic had some of the worst game selection. There was a couple of big PlayStation games, but there were many that people...
Side note and slightly positive thing about the PS1 that I thought was cool, it had Metal Gear Solid on there, and if anyone's played Metal Gear Solid up to a certain point, there is a part where you need the physical box, because on the back box art, it had the codex frequency.
Yeah.
Someone... They actually have that on the back of the PS1 Mini's box, the frequency and stuff.
Good. So nice. I'm glad someone thought of that.
Yeah. They put enough thought into that, but not enough to think like maybe we should make these games run well. You know?
Yeah.
They may not work very well, but at least they'll be able to finish them. Yes. God. And now we've got the Game Gear Micro in 2020. So as we've sort of mentioned, if to order it from Japan, it's about nearly 5,000 yen for each individual model, which is about $46, nearly $50, about £35 for each one. Effectively, they are in Japan only at the moment. I doubt they will come into the West. I'm not sure they will. I doubt that's going to happen. But and they only get 4 games in each of them. So you can get 16 games in total if you buy all of them. But so I guess, what do you guys think of especially the Game Gear Mini, the Game Gear Micro, even compared to some of these other ones? Do you think there's been a best? Do you think one company's done it better than the others for the device they've sold? And is there anything going forward that maybe Sega could get inspiration from, or I guess think they could do better for the next console they might release?
I'm going to say this before I forget. That tweet from the Sonic account where it's like, there will be no Dreamcast Mini. You people had your chance in '99. I love that one. I didn't
see that.
Yeah. is like a joke tweet, but I would. I mean, I have my Dreamcast over here under my bed. I would totally get a Dreamcast Mini. And I think the thing that comes to mind as I'm looking at these lists for the different mini consoles is one, this exclusivity I find a little strange. But I'm realizing there might be licensing or considered more popular in one region versus another. I actually really like the Sega Genesis lineup for the North American. I think there's some that are missing from here that I think are sad. From the US version, like it has Outrun missing from the North American Sega Genesis Mini. Puyo Puyo 2
racing game you mentioned that is Road Rash on here.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me that that's an EA title, but they didn't get any sports games, which is like was most of the Genesis marketing was the sports games it had. That might be licensing snafus.
Yeah. Shining Force 2 is not on here despite being on the Chinese and Korean version, but Shining Force 1 is. Sort of Million, I don't know. Hybrid Front, Revenge of Shinobi. Yeah, a lot of these ones on the Sega Genesis Mini are likely licensing issues, but I like that they brought up a few that I really like Alex Kidd and Kid Chameleon are two like kind of silly games that I think don't get as much attention as some of the other classic ones do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the PlayStation 1 classic one's definitely not where it's at for me. There's better ways to play some of these games, and I think that's what it comes back to. If I were to design or pick lists, I would pick games that were highlights of the console that you can't really get anywhere else, and I think that would be a better driver for people to go and get it. Because I don't know about you, but like I wouldn't play Sonic on like a half-inch screen. Like that kind of sucks. But like if they had other reasons, other Game Gear games that were great but never got the same attention, like that would be cool.
Yeah. I think it's.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, Scotty, you go ahead.
I just to tap on Nick's comments, like Contra Hardcore is on the Genesis Mini. That game on its own, you're not going to pay less than $80 if you want the actual cartridge, and like other things on here. It's weird that they have Castle Illusion starring Mickey Mouse on here, but not other, because that was like, this era was arguably the best era for licensed games between the SNES and the Genesis. In terms of like even like Home Alone, like other licensed stuff outside of Disney things, But like there's the Castlevania game is on the Genesis Mini. I mentioned Contra. There's another one on here I can't remember now. That's hard to come by, or it might be up there in price. But there's a couple on there. But also nice on the SNES that you have like the Nintendo license stuff. Echo the Dolphin, that's a big one. Just how like you can justify the purchases of this being an $80 thing when some of the games on here, if you're a collector or just want to play them legally, are going to be a good chunk of change.
Definitely.
And I do want to just give a mention to the TurboGrafx / PC Engine Mini that got released.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying that's the best one with the amount of games on the library, and also how when you play TurboGrafx CD stuff, they actually have like a disc comes down and pops into the fake tray on the menu, and you hear like the disc whirring and clicking and stuff like that. My argument against that though is they did no localizing, so I thought about getting that one because it was before I owned a copy of Snatcher on the Sega CD, because it did get released on the PC Engine. But it's the Japanese version, no localization, so you're going to play and read all Japanese for if you're outside of Japan for that, which is really weird. And Sega did also release the Astro City Mini, the little arcade thing, or I don't think it's out yet.
It's not out yet.
Yeah, right. So Neo Geo's done the arcade machine. Capcom did the horrible thing that looks like a birthday cake, which is those two arcade sticks, and it's a bunch of arcade games. You guys remember seeing that? It's shaped in the logo of Capcom, and people thought it was a legit joke.
That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot until you mentioned shaped like the logo of Capcom.
Yeah. Everybody's like, are you kidding me? So you're telling me that not only can I play this awkwardly shaped thing but it's 2 joysticks. So if I'm not having someone play with me, I have to like awkwardly set this giant joystick, fight stick,
To the side.
arcade stick on my lap, and like have a shoebox next to me on the couch or something, so I can use it if I'm playing single player. You know,
It can look
Yeah.
stupid and be impractical.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Please.
my overall opinion on this stuff is you've got the Genesis Mini. It looks cute on an entertainment system, the SNES Classic, all those. But what it comes down to is what's really cool is this comes with 2 controllers. So did the SNES Classic and the NES Classic. But you're holding those controllers, and then they are the actual size of the controller. So you have a novelty-looking thing on your entertainment center. Even when you're not playing it, don't have it plugged in or whatever, it's got those things there. It looks cool, or cute and cool. You're holding the controller of the regular size, so it's like, I enjoy these games. I remember this controller feeling this way in my hands. But when you go to grab a Game Gear, you're like, I can barely hold this thing. I'm gonna break it. Like, I have small hands. I have dainty fingers, and I don't feel good about holding this thing. So, like, someone else with bigger hands is gonna be like, I can't play this. This isn't fun. I remember enjoying these games, but I'm not having fun because my hands are cramping up right now. You know, like, there's the difference of holding the controller, holding a Game Gear Micro. I could talk about this forever.
Yeah. So, for me, it baffles me slightly in that Sega did, personally, I think Sega did an amazing job with the Mega Drive or Genesis Mini, because, as we mentioned, they had 42 games in it, which is more games than the other sort of the Nintendo or Sony ones. It had some couple of unreleased games, like Tetris, although it's weird, if you don't know about it, Tetris was actually officially released on the Mega Drive, but only about 50 copies were made because it was pulled for licensing issues. But there was an arcade version released, which is what's actually on the Mega Drive Mini. It's not the Mega Drive original, because the Mega Drive original actually to buy is like $1,000. It's something ridiculous. I don't remember. It's actually really expensive. They also added in Darius as well. So it's a couple of arcade games have added to this. But it's not just that. They've added in all the other things. So the other consoles have this as well, but the state saves and things like that. So if you're playing a game, you have to go for tea or whatever. Then you can save it and stuff. And also touching on the region things. I don't know if you remember, but when you're playing on the the Mega Drive or the Genesis, you can choose between the different variations of games depending on their region. So if a game does have rather than just a language thing, if there are actually differences in the games, they've actually kept all those different versions in there. So for example, Super Contra, you can play I believe you can play the American one, the Japanese one, and the PAL one. So you can play in English for American, you can play the Japanese one. The PAL version's a different game. It's called Probotecto. You've got different characters, different sprites running around and stuff. So it's actually a different game. I don't know if you've ever actually played it before. I think the bosses and the levels are actually basically the same thing, but there's actually a bit of difference in the graphics and sprites on the screen. So the characters are little robots instead of humans. Because we didn't have Contra over here. We had Probotector. And I don't know if you knew that at all. Scotty's looking at me baffled right now on the screen. So I thought that was just a really lovely touch that Sega did with the Mega Drive and Genesis Mini. They've added in all these cool extra features. You can change the backgrounds of the menus and stuff like that, which is kind of fun. Not essential, but just kind of fun things. And then the Game Gear Micro, the one thing I think you can do is basically you can change it so the box art is face on or spine view. And you can't read the spine view because it's too small a screen. So it's pointless. And they haven't done anything else to it. So it baffles me that Sega did that. They essentially, I know these are going to just go down as collector's items for people who really want them. And it's a big thing in Japan, but they could have made it a little bit more functional and added in those cool extra features, which would just made it even better and well worth it. And yeah, Scotty's showing off all the little buttons and stuff.
The Genesis Mini, you have a cartridge slot that you can't actually. Well, they did make fake cartridges in Japan and the UK, I think, and also the weird old headphone volume knob works. The reset button does reset it. There's a power switch. And another game that they switch up depending on the region is Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. It becomes Puyo Puyo when you play the Japanese version. Yeah,
so there's a few games in there that do it, and as you say, they've got games which are not technically Sega games. They've got like the Disney games, like World of Illusion, Castle of Illusion. They've got a great list of games, and yeah, some from by EA and Capcom as well. Yeah, it's because they've got Street Fighter in it, haven't they? Am I getting that wrong? They've got Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, haven't they?
I'm
actually looking at this game. Because I was getting confused because there was also the At Games one which had Mortal Kombat on it, but this one's got Capcom. So yeah, it's got some Capcom games on here, like Castlevania as well. Brilliant list of games, really good. And then they did the Game Gear Micro. So I guess very quickly, because there was rumoured to possibly be the Dreamcast Mini would be Sega's next console. What do you guys, not talking about games, we don't want to talk about what games we want on there, but any features or functionality you think would be really cool to have with a Dreamcast Mini or Micro?
VMU compatibility.
Ooh.
I was thinking about like that. What would they do to capture that feel? Like, even if it's just something where the controller has a VMU screen and all it does is light up and have the swirl on it or something silly.
Yeah.
Like, that was such a weird, unnecessarily revolutionary thing.
It was kind of cool. So to steal the opportunity to talk about Sonic Shuffle again real quick. When you played in party mode, when you played in party mode, you could actually hide your hand of cards, and you could look down at the VMU, which would display the cards. And so there's lots of little features that the VMU had that I think never got fully explored by all the games that they had the options for. So like, although it's unrealistic because most people don't have VMUs anymore, but like if you could have the game be compatible with your current VMU, well,
I have way too many VMUs, I think. I get them.
The average person may not have a VMU. So if they were like, hey, you can use your VMUs, I'd say about like 80% of the people who might be interested would be like, I don't have a VMU.
Probably all the people that picked up these dumbass things, the micro.
I think the main thing for me, as I was looking at the availability for the different libraries, was the SNES Classic stood out to me because they released a bunch of games that were unreleased outside of Japan. So Earthbound, for example, Final Fantasy VI had its only its different version put out. What was the other one? There's a few of these games that didn't have US or proper PAL releases. So like, what's that one Dreamcast game where it's like you go around in the RPG studio of them
Sega
developing?
Gaga.
Yeah, Sega Gaga. Yeah. That would be hilarious, and I think a good one to have. I think for me, it's put the games out there that you don't have easy or available access to regularly. If you do that, then people will do it. And it's kind of hard with the Dreamcast because you know the ease of which you can rip games and just put it right in the Dreamcast, and it works fine.
Yeah, I think if they were to do it, like have a couple of the big games like Sonic Adventure, obviously, but then it'd be cool to have some of the those games that people didn't really get a chance to play. That'd be really cool. Yeah,
Sonic Shuffle.
I think
and Sonic Shuffle. If they could release Sonic Shuffle with better loading times, I'd probably really enjoy it because that was the most painful thing about the game, just so slow and everything. But sorry,
it's true.
I'll move away. Scotty's frowning and shaking his head, so yeah.
I have a wrong opinion. You're both okay with that. The thing with the Dreamcast Mini, they have to acknowledge the VMU somehow, I feel. So even if they had like a way to play the VMU mini games on the console and like have a like a smaller screen. I mean, it'd have to be a smaller screen because the pixels would just be blown up on an HD TV or a widescreen view or something. I think if they somehow threw in like, here's Chow Adventure or here's the Power Stone mini games or things like that to kind of just, or even, I don't even know if it would make sense, but you would, if you were playing Sonic Shuffle or something that didn't require the VMU, but you would have it in 4:3 ratio, and then on the right side of the screen, like each VMU screen or something crazy like that, which
That'd
would
be
be
kind of cool.
the purpose of like the sports games showing your plays and stuff, and Sonic Shuffle. But like I remember, like, the Resident Evil games would use that as your health condition.
Yeah,
it would bring up the menu. There's videos online you can find of like forgotten VMU mini games and functions.
Yeah, features.
What if the controller had like a screen in it like a VMU basically, but maybe it wasn't detachable, but it did that for the games. Like you could look down and see what's happening. but they released an app, a VMU app, so like VMU mini games could go on there, so like Chow Adventure or whatever, or if they had Skies of Arcadia, for example. I know there's some mini games that came with that, so you could play.
That'd be kinda cool.
You can play those. You go, download the app, unlock it in the game, and somehow have the app tied to your Dreamcast Mini account or whatever you might do. That would be really cool. I think that's something that would be cool because everyone's got a phone, Android or OS or whatever you've got. I think that could work quite well.
That's what the crew behind Elysian Shadows that has unfortunately been lost to the Kickstarter atmosphere. They are releasing a JRPG for Dreamcast and also PC, and they were talking about having a VMU app so that you could use your phone as a VMU with that game because it was going to have VMU functions if you're playing on the Dreamcast. Crazy ambitious title, Elysian Shadows. Hopefully it does get released someday.
I have faith.
Yeah. But that's to just tap on what you were saying there, Graham. It is a functionality in some way, shape, or form. I don't think that Sega would do that because that would be a lot more commitment than they want with these mini consoles to incorporate your phone and stuff. So yeah, I don't know what I would want on the Dreamcast Mini though. Just basically the latter half of their library that is super rare. Probably it would be mostly Capcom games, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's just really, really cool to see one release, but as long as they actually do things like states, well, actually they wouldn't need them in Dreamcast games. Actually, really state saves, like because most of those games you could save almost anywhere. You had to save plenty of time. Maybe a state save function. I don't know, just in case you're stuck on a boss and you want to pause it and save it for that point. I mean, what do you guys think about internet capabilities on the games? Yay or nay? Would you think it's gone? It's done? Like, or do you think having some sort of internet in them? Yeah, for like multiplayer, for example, like not necessarily adding new multiplayer to games, but games that had the ability to go online and stuff. Like, what would you think about that?
I need my Christmas tree in Station Square and Sonic Adventure.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind
exactly
of what I was thinking.
They could actually release Sonic Adventure with all those DLC. I say DLC because they're actually all locked to the discs. But all those little things you could download, all of them, Japanese and UK and American.
I think asynchronous is fine. I think if you tried to hook those networks up to create multiplayer versions of the multiplayer that you had in the game, that would probably work horrifically, so I wouldn't recommend that. But any of the features that had the Dreamcast modem, I think would be definitely good to include. Yeah,
I just think it'd be like, say for example, if you had Phantasy Star Online on it and Quake, like I think that'd just be fun just to go back and be like, hey, I can play with Scotty on broadband connection, Wi-Fi, play him at Quake or Phantasy Star Online, and it'd be really good. I don't know, or Planet Ring, release Planet Ring again, get that out.
That's also asking Sega to set up servers and spend more money on servers.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Developing the netcode would be.
But
yeah,
I can dream. Cast. Anyway, I think we could probably maybe put this to bed now. We don't know if the Dreamcast is actually going to happen at all. The rumors going out there. It's just interesting to look at it, see how the different companies have handled this in different ways, and how Sega's done something amazing. Well, I think is amazing, and then something not so amazing and very expensive, which is a bit nuts. But yeah.
Well, we should mention the rumor came from the. Wasn't it the creative director from Sega saying like we're exploring, or it would be cool to see the Master System Mini or the Dreamcast Mini. We're just trying to think of what would, I'm paraphrasing, but what would appeal to the public more than the domestic market of Japan. So that means they're definitely not doing a Sega Saturn Mini, which I would love because some of that library the world needs to be exposed to. But they would sooner do the Dreamcast than the Saturn for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with all that. But yeah, I guess that will do it for this. As we said before, check out Scotty Mo's unboxing and also the Megavision's unboxing and review of the Game Gear Minis, Micros. I keep calling them Minis now, Micros. That's what they're called. So yeah. For the audience, the listeners, Scotty is now eating his red Game Gear Micro, which is probably the most favoursome of them, I guess. Well, that'll do it. Catch you all later, and be excellent to each other.
He's a ghost.